Many people assume Charlie is my younger lover, but that's not the case at all. He's 3 years younger than me, with a handsome face and a gentle, well-groomed look. Though he's over 6 feet tall, he comes across as surprisingly harmless and soft-spoken. Big sister, she cooed sweetly, sounding like a cute, clingy little puppy. Sister, you're back. As soon as I opened the door, Charlie took off his apron and came rushing over, pulling me into a warm hug. Young master gently rested his head on my shoulder, softly teasing in a muffled voice. I missed you so much, sister. I couldn't stop thinking about you all day. The assistant casually looked away and placed the briefcase on the entryway shelf. Boss, I'm heading out now. The working girl stepped back calmly and shut the door without a change in expression. Seeing the scene, I laughed and gently rubbed Charlie's reddening earlobe. Why do you always feed your assistant such sweet moments? My boyfriend is really affectionate, but he still gets shy easily. Back when we first started dating, he used to turn red just at the thought of a kiss. You're still the same stubborn self, but why suddenly started showing off our relationship like this? Charlie let go of me, easily lifting me onto his forearm before carrying me into the dining room. He leaned down and gently kissed my lips, letting out a soft hum. Because you're so amazing, I want everyone to know you're mine. The little dog looked downcast, his tail drooping, eyes glistening as he stared at me. I gently ruffled his hair with a smile. I really love you the most. The little one who's always feeling unsure lit up instantly at the sweet words. He leaned in for a few affectionate moments, then finally settled back into his seat with a contented smile, ready to enjoy their meal together. Thinking about the rumors that never stopped spreading at work, I stared at Charlie's empty finger for a while, and suddenly an idea came to me. We've been together for 3 years and living under the same roof for 2, with arguments so rare they can be counted on one hand. Our relationship is as smooth and steady as that of an old married couple. Even my business partners have been hinting around, asking when I might be switching things up with Charlie. Charlie, who works from home every day, can't help but feel uneasy whenever he hears rumors and gossip around him. How about asking for marriage? The idea popped into my head, and I immediately quietly instructed my assistant to book me a spot at the nearest small auction I could get into. I'm someone who doesn't like to wait, always rushing ahead. Since I can't stand waiting for something custom-made, it's much faster just to go with a well-known ready-made option. Fortunately, I heard the Crown Prince from the Beijing Elite Circle is also attending this auction. The organizers have brought out many exquisite pieces to win favor, so there's no worry about anything being unattractive. I claimed I was on a business trip and moved out of the house, using the time to plan my proposal while setting up the surprise in my newly purchased villa. On the day of the auction, I even switched to a new car just in case Charlie happened to see me outside. Would have been awkward to explain later. The auction wasn't very large, but since the heir from the Beijing Elite Circle was expected to attend, everyone who mattered had shown up. To better welcome their distinguished guests, the organizers held a small reception before the auction, giving attendees a chance to discuss business and connect on a personal level. I had something important to attend to at the auction, so instead of joining the socializing right away, I slipped to a quiet corner to go over the exhibit list. After mentally narrowing down a few names, I pulled out my phone to jot them down. Just then, Charlie's message popped up. Brother, when are you coming back? I really miss you. He sent along a cute little dog sticker. Thinking of his pitiful expression made me feel a sudden pang of sympathy. I miss you too, don't worry, I'll be back soon. There's a big surprise coming your way. I didn't send that last message. Charlie quickly sent 2 cute puppy-like emoticons. I'll be waiting at home for you to come back, sister. Look at this, look at that. Such a good boyfriend definitely needs to be brought home soon. In the bustling banquet hall, I held back for a long time before I could stop myself from smiling too widely. Just as I was about to send one last message and put my phone back into my purse, a sudden scream from nearby drew everyone's attention. I instinctively covered my phone and looked up toward the lively crowd. An face I knew all too well suddenly appeared in my line of sight, catching me completely off guard. I gasped sharply, then stood up and stared closely. I must be seeing things. My boyfriend, who had just been sending me cute emoji messages on my phone, was now dressed in a black suit, surrounded by people admiring him, with a girl sobbing nearby on the ground. His expression was stern, completely different from the gentle and harmless demeanor he showed when we were alone. Now he stood tall and imposing, radiating an air of authority that left no room for doubt. The girl on the ground kept crying uncontrollably, but he didn't pay any attention, just lowered his head and continued fiddling with his phone. The person standing beside me couldn't help but speak up. "This is our elite young master from the capital's upper circle. You just jumped in and treated him like a harasser, ready to slap him. Do you even know who you're messing with?" My mind went blank, and I stood frozen at the back of the crowd staring at Charlie. I'd heard rumors about the so-called young master of the Beijing elite circle. The Song family was a long-established powerful force in Beijing's elite circles. In recent years, family conflicts have led to many questionable decisions, causing the business to keep declining. Just as everyone was wondering which rising star would challenge the Song family's position, the Song clan unexpectedly produced a young master hailed as a business prodigy. He essentially took charge of the family's declining trajectory, reorganized the vast enterprise, and then guided it toward a much higher level. Because of his outstanding abilities and low-key nature, people in the circle deeply respected Mr. Charlie. Over time, it became a light-hearted nickname among them, calling him Young Master. When I was just starting out in the business world, I'd heard about him before. But since our interests didn't overlap and he kept a very low profile, I never knew what he looked like or even his name, so I never once thought I might actually know him. But my little boyfriend in memory was innocent and sincere, like a bright flame burning steadily. According to the rumors, the young master from the Beijing elite circle was known for being distant and proud, with a decisive and firm approach in business matters. Two people with such opposite personalities just couldn't fit together in my mind. I rubbed my temples and sent a playful emoji to my boyfriend, who was still waiting for my reply. At almost the same moment, the young man surrounded by admirers heard his phone buzz. At this point, any excuse about them just looking alike was completely shattered. I didn't make a mistake. The so-called Beijing elite heir was actually my boyfriend of 3 years, the one I was about to propose to. From the moment I met Charlie, I always thought he was an average city kid from a modest background. He developed a crush on me the moment I was invited to give a speech as an outstanding alumnus at my alma mater. As soon as the event ended, he quietly slipped backstage, just to catch me alone and ask for my contact information. Back then, Charlie was wearing a pair of faded blue jeans, with a shy smile that made him look just like a recent college graduate from a modest background. After we met, he kept showing up constantly on social media and wrote me sweet notes like a schoolboy chasing someone he liked. Enough to really make an impression on me. He pursued me for half a year, bringing me a bouquet every single day, and occasionally showing up at my office when he was sure I wasn't busy, just to drop off meals. It really helped lift my spirits during tough times. I had just gotten my company back on track, feeling relieved and relaxed. Over time, I found myself drawn to him, and it naturally led to us starting a relationship. Charlie rarely talked about his family, only mentioning in vague terms that his parents had passed away and things at home hadn't been easy. I thought my own family situation was similar enough, so I figured it was best not to bring up painful topics, and decided not to press further. Even if I had a vague sense that he was hiding something, I just kept telling myself that when he was ready to talk, there'd be no secrets left. Now that his hidden identity has been revealed, I finally realized just how big of a surprise this truly is. I let out a quiet scoff. The disturbance on the stage didn't last long, and the organizers quickly sent someone to handle the situation. The official kept apologizing to Charlie while whispering something to the young woman still lying on the ground, her face pale with distress. The young woman who had been lying on the ground unwillingly turned pale in an instant, staggered to her feet, muttered a quiet apology, and quickly left the gathering. Charlie remained expressionless the entire time, saying nothing and not glancing at anyone around him. He kept his head down, focused on his phone as if guarding a precious treasure, unwilling to spare even a glance for anyone else. When the official led a group of people to say they could head to the private lounge early, Charlie finally put his phone away into his jacket pocket with a reluctant look, then turned and walked off without another glance. I glanced at the playful message on my chat app, then looked at his confident silhouette walking away. Well, nice going, my dear boyfriend. So many different faces now playing games with me, huh? I let out a cold smile as I put my phone away. Lately, with so much business on my plate, I've been feeling guilty for not spending more time with him. But now, guilt. What guilt? Isn't he always busy anyway? I downed 3 or 4 glasses of red wine in a row just to calm myself down. The brief reception before the auction ended, and the hostesses began guiding guests into the venue. I held in my frustration, carefully checked the VIP auction number, and was then led to the reserved private box. The auction officially began. I wasn't focusing on the items on stage. Instead, I kept a close eye on what was happening in the VIP section upstairs. Whenever something in Mr. Charlie's private booth caught my eye, I'd place a bid. Whatever he wanted, I'd go one higher. As the bidding went on, other attendees began to notice the unusual tension. Whenever we placed a bid, they rarely challenged us, unless the item was truly rare and unique. After I raised my bid 7 times in a row, Mr. Charlie finally couldn't stay calm anymore. The door of the private room was knocked on, and after I called out, the face of the attendant I'd just seen at the reception appeared. "Iris," he said, rubbing his hands together with a slightly strained expression, "it's been quite hot lately. People tend to get a bit worked up. This fruit platter is from the venue, just a small token for you. Please accept it kindly." I just nodded silently, and the attendant wiped his brow. "Number is Mr. Charlie. You're a well-known name in business circles. You must know who he is. Your items are impressive, but I didn't bring enough money. When the price goes beyond what I'm comfortable with, it's only natural I'd walk away." The manager looked uneasy. "Iris, you?" I paused for a moment and said, "I know both of you are customers and I understand it's not easy for you. I won't make things harder. Just put the fruit platter down, and I'll leave your setup undisturbed." I'd already caused enough trouble for that private rooms group by bidding a few times, so I felt a bit better about it. The fact that the attendant came down showed he didn't really care who stood against him. His only concern was clearing the way to keep today's event running smoothly. There's not much point in pushing further. It's best to know when to stop. Doing the auction house a favor like this isn't a bad move either. Hearing this, the manager immediately relaxed. "Iris is one of our most valued guests, and this is simply part of our duty." The manager then had 2 bottles of wine brought in, saying, "I won't disturb your enjoyment any further. I'll take my leave now." I waved my hand dismissively. I didn't argue over any of the following items, watching as Charlie's private booth spent money freely, bidding on a wide range of things. I kept flipping through the documents my assistant sent about Charlie's past, my mind a mess. I used to think I could always cut through messes, whether in business or in relationships, with clear, decisive choices. When it actually came down to it, after thinking again and again, all I could feel was just one thought: I couldn't let go. I just couldn't bring myself to let go. We've been together for years, and he's truly the kind of boyfriend who checks all the boxes. Almost as if he were handing me his heart on a silver platter. I'm not oblivious. I can tell genuine feelings from pretense. Besides, given his background, what could he possibly want with me? Unless he has some unusual preferences. I've read those undercover identity novels before. Normally, you'd be thrilled to find out your partner is someone important. But when it came to me, I realized how frustrating it was to be treated with such lack of openness. As I was lost in thought, the ring I had originally been drawn to ended up being put up for auction. I stared blankly for a long moment, and somehow I still pressed the bidding button. It wasn't until the auctioneer called my number 3 times in a row and brought down the hammer that I finally realized, rubbing my temples in disbelief. Well, even though it's tied to love and meaning, it doesn't have to be a wedding ring. Keeping it as a keepsake would still be nice. The small auction proceeded without much drama and quickly came to an end. I wasn't in the mood to examine the ring closely, so I just left my company's address for my assistant to handle it. I stepped out of the banquet hall, wondering whether to go home and wait for him, or call him right away when someone blocked my path. "Hey, you're the one who stood up to our Charlie earlier, right?" The blonde henchman who had been so confident in front of Charlie was now standing right in front of me. He gave me a quick once-over, then let out an impatient sigh. "I know who you are, newly rising tech company boss Iris, right?" Before I could respond, he continued, "People like you are everywhere. I've seen your kind before. You're trying to get close to Charlie any way you can, hoping to latch onto the Song family's influence, aren't you? Don't waste your time dreaming." I let out a dry laugh. "I'm the one who wants to meet Charlie. I think it's more likely he'd be eager to see me. I've known every part of him for ages. There's no need to resort to such petty tricks." I could tell he wasn't sent by Charlie, probably just trying to take credit for stepping in to handle the situation. I was already in a bad mood, and hearing those words made me instantly blame Charlie. I hadn't figured out how to handle things yet. Playing pretend, are we? Loving the drama, huh? Just another privileged heir from the capital city scene, right? If you love putting on a show, then let's play along together. I gave the guy with the dyed hair a light pat on the head, smiling. Don't worry, by then it'll be your Charlie begging to get to know me. After saying that, I didn't wait for the look on his face like he still wanted to lecture me. Instead, I stepped into the car door already opened by the driver and left the venue. I stayed away a few extra days before coming back home. The large apartment where I lived with Charlie was one he found himself. At the time, he said it was a long-term rental, and insisted on not asking me to pay any rent at all, claiming he'd happened to sell the rights to a novel, which is why he could afford such a lengthy lease. Now that I think about it, he probably just lives in his own place. Why would he even bother renting? I unlocked the fingerprint door, and a familiar figure suddenly rushed toward me. Big sister, I really missed you. Charlie reached for my bag and tried to wrap his arms around me. You said you'd be back a couple of days ago. Was there something that delayed your return? I stepped aside and didn't let him hug me. During those days away, I couldn't stop thinking about so many things. Going through all our past chat messages and replaying every moment since we first met, my mind felt completely overwhelmed. Because my parents' marriage didn't go well, being honest with each other in a relationship has always been really important to me. I thought I'd feel angry or something negative when I saw Charlie again, but when he reached out to hug me, all I could think about was one thing. I was upset, but I really missed him too. There's been some trouble with business matters. I'm really worn out. I rubbed my temples, bypassed Charlie to change my shoes, and sat down on the sofa. Without his usual greeting hug, Charlie stood frozen near the door for a moment before slowly making his way over to sit on the sofa. Sister. He drawled the word, his tone hinting at something softer. I acted as if I hadn't heard him. I thought I'd be uncomfortable seeing him like this after having seen him so serious and in charge of the room before. Even though the little dog looked so down with his tail hanging low, I took several deep breaths to remind myself not to reach out and stroke his head. I was actually mad, but old habits really are the worst. I forced my gaze away and let out a sigh. You know, I have a friend who recently did something I just can't understand. Without a response from me, Charlie's expression showed a hint of surprise. He didn't dwell on it much. Seeing me rubbing my temples, he moved closer, gently guided me to lie back on his lap, and began massaging pressure points on my head. He lowered his head and replied to me, "What?" She actually kept her family background and identity a secret while dating someone she liked. For years. I just can't figure out what she was thinking. Charlie's hands paused for a moment. Maybe she just didn't feel right about it? I squinted slightly. What's bad about her? She comes from a good family, looks great, and has both wealth and influence. He paused for a moment, then suddenly smiled. I just can't figure out what he was thinking. Maybe he didn't say anything at first, and by the time it came up, he didn't know how to bring it up. His long fingers glided from my forehead down to my cheeks, and I blinked up at him, meeting his gaze, only seeing my own reflection in his clear eyes. Are you hiding anything from me? I suddenly asked. The hand that was massaging came to a pause. Big sister, he said, forehead touching mine. I would never lie to you, but he would hide it from me. Now that I think about it, he'd always been vague about my background, but he never actually lied. I was the one being naive and never dug deeper into it. Just as he was about to lean in, I gently pressed my fingers against both sides of Charlie's cheeks. All right, I just got home. I'm exhausted. I'm heading to take a shower now. For the next while, I stopped trying to probe Charlie any further. Just as it happened, there were some work matters at the company, so I used that as an excuse and started staying there occasionally. He's naturally sharp, and after doing it so many times, what started as testing turned into an obvious demand for answers. I've never been good at pretending, and the more I acted cold and sarcastic, the more awkward it felt to me. Besides, this part of the plan couldn't end so soon. Fortunately, he truly trusted what I said, so he didn't suspect that I'd been staying in the city instead of being on a business trip. Although I had doubts about his question that day, I never realized I was the one who confronted him at the moment he couldn't hide it anymore. One day, while I was staying late at the office again, I had just sent a message to a few business associates when my assistant suddenly called me. Boss? The young assistant stammered. Could you come downstairs? There's a bit of a situation. I was completely confused as I headed downstairs, and just stepped out of the elevator when I saw Charlie, his face flushed, blocking the assistant. Is my sister starting to dislike me? Is it because I'm being too much trouble for you, sister? Do you not want to see me anymore? I've done so many things wrong, haven't I? That's why you're upset with me, right? He kept mumbling questions to the young assistant, his breath heavy with alcohol. As soon as I appeared downstairs, the young assistant looked like he'd spotted a lifeline and quickly nudged Charlie to turn around. Your sister's here. Charlie didn't turn around, his posture clearly showing doubt. You're lying. If sister really didn't want to see me, she'd have stayed away from the office altogether. Why would she come down here now? I stepped into place behind him. Charlie, stop blocking John, he's got to get home for dinner. The drunk man turned in disbelief, and upon recognizing me, suddenly lunged forward. The assistant finally looked relieved, gave me a quick signal and quickly disappeared. The first floor of the company was empty except for me and the inebriated Charlie. Sister, sister, sister. He kept repeating my name, his arms tightly holding me around the waist, not letting go. He didn't say anything else the whole time, just kept calling out my name over and over, repeating sister again and again. I patted his back and said, You've had quite a bit to drink? I've just been feeling like you've been acting a bit off lately. He spoke softly. Sister, you haven't let me get close to you lately, and you're not coming home either. I know there must be a reason behind everything you do, but I can't help feeling uneasy. The hand around my waist tightened slightly. Sister, are you really letting me go? I let out a soft sigh. I'm not ignoring you, I don't dislike you, and I haven't set my eyes on anyone else. I really have been tied up with important matters lately, I said, gently running my hand along his back. Want to come upstairs and see the reports in my office? There's a company from overseas that's interested in partnering with me over some new technology. My schedule has been completely packed. He suddenly looked up. Really? Charlie was really easy to comfort. Just a few words, and the worried look on his face vanished instantly, replaced by a bright smile. He acted like a nervous puppy, always worried about losing attention. I gently rubbed the tip of his reddened ear, my expression unreadable. After playing around a bit more, I gently guided the tipsy young man into the elevator and into the office's rest area. He had definitely had too much to drink, constantly asking me to stay with him and refusing to let go no matter what. Reluctantly, I put down my unfinished work and stayed by his side, eventually drifting off to sleep without even realizing it. The next morning, I instinctively reached for the edge of the bed, but only found empty space. When I rubbed my eyes and stepped out, Charlie was already sitting in my office chair, staring blankly at the documents on my desk. Sister, you're awake? He stood up, walked over, and gently smoothed out my messy hair. What would you like to eat? I'll go get it. I glanced at the desk and said, You looked at my new project, right? Isn't it amazing? The new project is a relatively recent branch of artificial intelligence that emerged overseas, and I've been keeping an eye on it for quite some time. This time, when it happened to me, I actually felt kind of surprised and happy. I used to avoid talking about this with Charlie, worried he wouldn't understand or find it boring. But now I just wanted to see what excuse he'd come up with. Charlie gently shook me as he said, Sister, I'm not really familiar with business, but this company showing up so conveniently feels a bit too perfect. You've wanted something like this for a long time, and now it just landed in your hands. Maybe you should take another close look? I gave him a smile, saying, You haven't run a business before, so you wouldn't understand. Sometimes things just work out that way. And don't you trust my judgment? I asked. Charlie looked up at me with a soft gaze, his voice gentle. Sister's taste is always excellent. I just think we should be a bit more careful about this. I gently ruffled his hair and didn't respond, saying instead, I feel like having crab meat soup buns. Seeing the way I wasn't taking his suggestion seriously, Charlie clearly grew uneasy. In the days that followed, he kept bringing up my project's progress in subtle ways, urging me to reconsider. In the end, he even acted stubborn and tried to stop me from working with this company. Every time I just replied with, You don't get it, acting as if I hadn't heard a word he said. As the collaboration with the company grew increasingly close, even the contract signing date was set, he finally couldn't stay calm anymore. Then, Song Group suddenly stepped in to compete with my company for the investment rights. followed by rumors about entering the tech industry. But I never gave up on this opportunity. Several times at home, Charlie seemed to want to talk to me, but whenever I looked his way, he'd frown and change the subject. As I noticed the tech company was about to switch partners, I went straight to their office myself and offered an additional 10% discount to secure the deal. The company was eager to work with both of us, but in the end, they hesitated and decided to put us up against a few smaller firms in a bidding process. I knew Charlie wouldn't let me wait until the bidding day. I chose to go to that tech company the day before the bidding, with my young assistant by my side. I wandered through the quiet office for a while and quickly found the meeting room, then stepped inside. The youth on the sofa had been sitting with his head down, blankly staring at the documents, his beautiful face suffused with icy coldness, looking almost identical to the commanding strategic mastermind I had once pictured in my mind. The moment I stepped into the room and he looked up to see me, his expression changed instantly. "Miss," Charlie called out. I'm. He immediately lost the composure he had shown earlier, his expression flickering with unease. "There's something off about this company. I didn't speak to him right away. Instead, I turned my attention to the tech company's representative nearby, trying to pass off outdated foreign tech as something new. Huh? You really think I'm an easy target?" I smiled warmly and gestured toward the approaching sirens outside. "Why don't you explain your advanced technology to the officers when they arrive?" As the police quickly took the person away, Charlie opened his mouth as if to speak, but in the end said nothing more. In an instant he understood what I meant. I wasn't unaware of the company's issues. Right from the start, I had no intention of working with a firm like this. Putting on this act was all about making Charlie anxious, getting him to show up here in person. It was actually a fairly simple setup. If he had been thinking clearly like before, he definitely wouldn't have fallen for it. Unfortunately, he lost his composure. After I explained to the police that I'd be coming in later to cooperate with their investigation, Charlie quietly dismissed everyone who had come with him. He hesitated, reaching out to take my hand, but just before he could touch me, he pulled back as if suddenly afraid. It was as if all the stories about his ruthless decisiveness had been nothing more than imagined tales created by others. "When did you find out, sister?" I smiled and said, "No what? Was it realizing I've been played all along? Or feeling relieved to learn there's someone like you watching over me?" Charlie looked uneasy. "I'm sorry, sister. I didn't mean to hide it from you. But you kept it hidden too," I said. "For 3 years straight. Someone as clever as him couldn't have failed to notice anything unusual during all this time. But in the end, he only confessed everything when he could no longer keep it hidden. I didn't know if he was hoping for the best or hiding something else, but in any case I had already given him chances to avoid things getting this far. Were you thinking I'd try to get close to your family once I found out who you were? That I'm just after status and wealth?" I asked, voicing a doubt I'd had before. "Brother, I didn't mean it that way." He gently took my arm. "I truly fell for you the moment I saw you, and everything we've shared over the years has been real. Other than my family background, I haven't hidden anything from you, and I've never lied to you." I stayed silent, and that only made him more anxious. 2 years ago, there was a family conflict and someone tried to harm me, so I had to go into hiding and stay cautious, Charlie explained. "I've never truly cared for anyone before. I'm genuinely sincere about how I feel for you. At first, I didn't tell you because I didn't want you dragged into it, but as time went on, I just couldn't find the right words. I kept putting it off until I became too afraid to speak up." I let out a quiet breath, feeling relieved. Thankfully, these past 3 years haven't been wasted. When it comes to our feelings, we've always been honest with each other. I know you truly care about me. Otherwise, I would have ended things with you the moment I saw you at the auction. When I found out I'd been kept in the dark, I considered every possibility, except ending things with Charlie. Just because we're not breaking up doesn't mean I'm not upset. There's one thing I absolutely need Charlie to understand. When a partner keeps something hidden, it's natural to feel uneasy, restless, and afraid. I've never been someone who needs to be sheltered, and I don't want anyone pretending they're protecting me by keeping things from me. Even if someone finds out about this and thinks I'm overreacting, I still need him to understand this is my boundary. Charlie, we're both adults with our own thoughts. If you feel my response to your secrecy is too harsh, then handle it however you see fit. I'll cooperate in finding a solution, I said seriously. Charlie pressed his lips together. I understand. The day after everything happened, I temporarily moved out of the apartment I shared with Charlie. He didn't suggest any way to fix things, nor did he bring up breaking up. Instead, he kept calling me Big Sis on the app every day, and never even tried to explain himself. I was still upset and didn't reply to a single message. I set a trap for Charlie, got my revenge, and then stayed calm for almost a week straight. Only then did I start to feel somewhat better. It was only then that I began to wonder if we had actually broken up. Given how he acted when I caught him that day, it didn't really matter whether he spoke up or not. I felt a bit sad, but I didn't regret what I had done. After work, I found myself driving aimlessly through the city, not even sure how I ended up at the hotel where I'd once planned to propose. I sat in the already set-up proposal scene for a long while, staring at it again and again, but couldn't bring myself to take it down. Well, renting a hotel room long-term isn't really a problem. I'll just keep it for now and decide later when I feel better. I drove around the city aimlessly, wondering whether I should call someone to grab a drink. A passerby tapped on my car window. After lowering the window, a kind-faced middle-aged woman reached out from behind and handed me a single rose. Someone asked me to give this to you, she explained with a regional accent. A very handsome young man indeed. My mind immediately thought of Charlie. Just a single rose, no words spoken, and no message appeared on the messaging app. After I thanked her, the woman slowly walked away from in front of my car. I got out of the car and looked all around, but I couldn't see Charlie anywhere. Someone tapped my shoulder, and I turned around to see the young man with messy hair, the one who had spoken out of turn before, standing in front of me, his eyes darkened from a recent injury. Miss Shun. He grinned, wincing slightly as he said, This is something someone asked me to give you. The young man handed me a bouquet of roses. Miss Shun, I was being careless and said things I shouldn't have before. It's my fault. Please don't be upset with me. He looked genuinely sorry. I didn't mean to misjudge you as someone trying to get ahead by attaching yourself to others. Honestly, I just wanted to help, like a friend looking out for your best interests. And that day, he went because the organizers mentioned there were many accessories with romantic meanings. His intention was to get one for you. Hearing those words, I paused, taken aback. I was so caught up arguing with him that I didn't even notice what he'd bought. Seeing Huang Mao's battered state, I couldn't help but let out a small laugh. All right, I get it. When he heard me laugh, he seemed relieved and didn't wait for me to say another word. He quickly dashed off without a trace. I searched through the roses in my arms, but still couldn't find a note or anything else. My phone didn't light up either. Now I'm really not sure what Charlie is trying to do. I waited a little longer, and then the third person carrying roses came into view. She's the assistant. She came to me yesterday evening asking for leave. And I never expected someone who usually doesn't answer work-related calls during holidays would show up here. Boss. She panted, holding out a huge bouquet of roses to me. Even though Charlie always showing off his relationship in front of me can be kind of annoying, I still love watching handsome couples together. I'm just delivering the flowers for him, but I fully respect your choices. There's absolutely no pressure here. I might enjoy the idea of you two as a couple, but whatever your decision is, I just hope you're happy. I looked at her quietly. Actually, Charlie has a better background. I should probably be happy about that, right? You don't think I'm just being difficult, do you? Phew. The young assistant wiped his brow. No matter what he was hiding, he did something wrong. Owning up and apologizing is the right thing to do, isn't it? Besides, this is something between the two of you. From my view, he's really fond of you. He doesn't seem to think anything you did was wrong at all. Assistant. All right, mission accomplished. I'm off to enjoy the rest of my break now. The young assistant waved at me cheerfully and skipped out of sight. This time, I found a piece of paper folded into the shape of a dog's head inside the large bouquet of roses. When opened, it revealed a love letter. The message was just like the first one he wrote when he used to pursue me, except for an extra sentence at the end. A dog is just a dog, and he'll always love you. He must know I always think of him as a little dog, huh? For the next while, I received gifts and letters from Charlie almost every day. Yet he never showed up in person, just messages online calling me older sister and big sis. Though his words were few and quiet, under the Song family name, he was making quite a stir. So much so that almost everyone had heard about how the so-called heir of Beijing's elite circle was now taking time to reflect and genuinely pursuing his romantic feelings. I didn't respond to his actions, and he wasn't eager to clarify our relationship again. Instead, he patiently and thoughtfully went through the same steps he'd taken long ago when pursuing me. He left all the control in my hands, letting me take the lead however I wanted. Just a few days later, it was time for my alma mater's annual alumni celebration, and I accepted my teacher's invitation to speak as a distinguished graduate. On the day of the school celebration, I was delayed for a while because my car broke down before I could arrive at campus. Slipping into the auditorium, I looked up just in time to see Charlie on stage, his usual cold expression softening into a smile as he glanced my way. Following his gaze, the students were clearly teasing and laughing loudly, not stopping even after I took my seat. Charlie's speech was coming to an end, and the student hosting took over the microphone, dutifully reading from the prepared questions. If your dream back in school was to grow the family business, what kind of dream do you have now that you've achieved so much success? The young man on stage paused to think. Would it count if I wanted to be my sister's little dog? The already lively students suddenly got even more animated, clapping enthusiastically and turning to look at my reaction. Even though we're all college students, this is just nonsense being thrown around. I couldn't help but cover my face and let out a couple of quiet giggles, then quietly apologized to the nearby school official. Fortunately, after finishing his speech, Charlie didn't keep up the playful antics and smoothly brought the conversation back to the main topic. Sitting in the audience, I lifted my head under the bright lights and studied Charlie carefully. The rumors are really far-fetched. Maybe he's ruthless and confident in business, but deep down, he's just as bright and passionate as he is with me, like a flame that never goes out. After the speech ended, I took over for Charlie and went up to speak as usual. Charlie took the seat I had just left, tilting his head up to look at me in the same way I had moments before. In a daze, I suddenly remembered the first time I met him. Back then, I had casually glanced across the audience and spotted this remarkably handsome young man. After finishing my speech according to the prepared notes, the student representative who had spoken with Charlie earlier approached me as expected. "What's your dream right now?" I paused for a moment, then said softly, "I hope your dreams all come true." The students murmured again. When I stepped down, Charlie was already waiting for me backstage. He must have found an outfit from the first time we met, reaching out with his phone to gently stop me as I passed by. "I'm Charlie, the current CEO of Song Group," he said, his ears slightly flushed as he showed me a QR code. "May I get to know you better, sister?" I scanned the QR code, and a newly written love letter popped up on my screen. "Besides writing love letters and bringing flowers and treats, don't you have any more original ways to win someone over?" I couldn't help but laugh. Charlie said seriously, "I care about you so much that nothing I do ever feels right, but at the same time I can't just do nothing." I slipped the phone back into my pocket. "Flattery." He smiled warmly. "So did those sweet words make you happy, sister?" "Kind of happy, I guess," I said. "But it's a bit unfortunate. Sister is also a CEO, and a very driven one at that, so being a supportive partner isn't really realistic for me. Even if it were out of love, I wouldn't change who I am." "That works out perfectly. We're a great match," he said. "You don't need to change yourself, just do what makes you happy. If we really have to talk about being the one who stays home or works outside, I can be the one focused on family life. Honestly, I never had much ambition for a career. I kept managing these businesses only because it was my mom's final wish before she passed away." He thought for a moment, then added, "If you want to have children, go ahead. If not, that's fine too. Even if you wish to have kids but don't want to carry them yourself, I'd be willing to invest in research so men could carry babies, just for you. Whatever you want, I'll give it to you." "What if I wanted your family's business?" I asked with a smile. Charlie didn't hesitate as he smiled. "I've said it before. I'm happy to be your loyal companion. Whatever you need, I'll give it to you. As long as I'm here, I'll always support whatever you want to do." If I weren't someone with clear boundaries, given Charlie's overly romantic mindset, I'd probably end up in a tricky situation if I ever tried to pull something like that. Looking back now, Charlie's moment of revealing his true feelings seems to have summed up all the unspoken arguments and awkward moments from our years together, drawing a clear line between what came before and what comes after. If I can make it through, everything will be fine. If not, we'll go our separate ways. While I was hesitating on the shore, the person beside me had already stepped forward without a second thought, holding out a heart I'd once doubted, waving it proudly for me to see. Are you like this outside too? How did those rumors about you being as scary as the Grim Reaper even start? I asked with a smile. Charlie, I only act this way in front of you, sister. The young man took my hand and leaned down, his invisible tail wagging happily as he said, after that day, I looked into your schedule and found out you went to get the ring because you wanted to propose to me. His eyes crinkled with a smile. So, sister, when will you let me be your one and only companion?